Chapter 12. Verb and its kinds. A verb is a word or more than one word that is used to express an action or a state of being. Every sentence must have a verb. This makes the verb the most important word as far as the construction of a sentence is concerned. In a sentence, a verb connects the subject to the object. There are two different objects, direct object and indirect object. A verb can be just a word. She sent a letter. They left early. A verb can be more than one word. He is washing his car. You have broken my window. A verb connects the subject to the object. Lee drives a car. Subject, Lee or object, car. Someone has eaten my pizza. Subject, someone or object, pizza. A verb may not have an object. The sun shines. It is raining. Kinds of verbs. 1. Transitive and intransitive verbs. A verb that has a direct object to complete the sentence is a transitive verb. A verb that does not need an object to make its meaning clear is an intransitive verb. The transitive verb. A transitive verb must have an object. Without an object, it does not convey a clear meaning. Example, he bought. The question inevitably arises, what did he buy? No one in the world knows the answer to this question as there is no direct object to tell us what he bought. The meaning becomes clear when an object is added. He bought a cake. Now every one of us knows what he bought. The subject, he, performs the action, bought. The object of the action verb, bow, is cake. A transitive verb may take an indirect object. An indirect object is something or someone to whom or for whom the action is carried out. He bought her a cake, which is same as, he bought a cake for her. She is reading grandma the news, which is same as, she is reading the news to grandma. In the first sentence, the indirect object is her as it is for her that the cake was bought. In the second sentence, the indirect object is grandma as it is to her that the news was read. The indirect object usually comes before the direct object as shown in above two sentences. The intransitive verb. An intransitive verb does not have an object. Without an object, the meaning is not affected. Example, she smiles. The dog is barking. Their plane has already taken off. All the verbs, smiles, is barking, has taken off, are intransitive as they do not need an object to make the meaning clear. Example, the villagers caught a boar yesterday, but it escaped this morning. The verb caught is transitive as it has the direct object boar. The other verb escaped is intransitive since it is not followed by an object. 2. Auxiliary verbs. All verbs are either auxiliary verbs or main verbs. Auxiliary verbs, also called helping verbs, consist of primary verbs, be, have, do, and modal verbs, can, could, will, might, must, etc. The most common auxiliary verbs are be, have and do. Each has different forms. For example, the different forms of be include am, is, are, was, were. Auxiliary verbs commonly combine with other verbs to form tenses. It is very common for a sentence to have two verbs standing side by side. Jill is riding an elephant. Jack has gone with Jill to the zoo. In the two sentences, there are two verbs in each sentence, is riding and has gone. The first verbs in each pair, is, has, are the auxiliary verbs, while riding and gone are the main verbs. Auxiliary verbs do not always combine with the main verbs to form tenses. When they are on their own, They are no longer auxiliary verbs but acting like the main verb. I am sleepy. She is pretty. He was tall. We are lost. They were tired. It has a long tail. You have good looks. Does she know you? Yes, she does. Modals or modal verbs are also auxiliary verbs. Modal verbs are used to express ability, etc. Examples. She can drive a tractor. Ability. If we don't leave now, we could be late. Possibility. I will call you this evening. Willing. You might like a ride in the roller coaster. Suggestion. We must get up early tomorrow. Necessity. Auxiliary verbs often come in contracted form. The word have is shortened to apostrophe ve, is or has to apostrophe s, and had, would, should or could to apostrophe d. Examples. I am quite sure I've lost my way. I am or I have. It's the biggest dog in the neighborhood. It is. She's naturally curly hair. She has. They'd already gone home. They had. We'd like to go now. We would. He'd stop thinking every girl dislikes him. He should. You'd speak 7 languages. You could. 3. Linking verbs. Linking verbs do not tell us what the subject does, but what the subject is. A linking verb links the subject to the complement, which states something about the subject. The complement can be a word, phrase or clause. The most common linking verbs are the various forms of the auxiliary verb be, am, is, are, was, were. Linking verbs do not take a direct object, and any verb that expresses an action is not a linking verb. Characteristics of a linking verb. A linking verb is not an action word. He looked at me. It tells us what he did. Looked is an action verb. She looked as if she was going to cry. It doesn't tell us what she did, only how she appeared to be. Looked is a linking verb. A linking verb tells us what state the subject is in, what the subject is, etc. He was tired. It tells us the state, tired, the subject was in. She is a nurse. It tells us she is a nurse. A linking verb is often followed by an adjective, but not a direct object. He feels fine. Feel is not an action verb because it is followed by an adjective. He feels the fine sand of the beach. Feel is an action verb. A pronoun following a linking verb should be in the subjective, not objective. It was he they were looking for. He is a subjective pronoun. Not. It was him they were looking for. Him is an objective pronoun. Correct. They were looking for him. Him is an object. We can identify a linking verb by replacing it with to be and see if it makes sense. If it does, it is a linking verb. Otherwise, it isn't. Let's use the following 2 sentences and replace the verb feels with is. He feels fine. He is fine. The sentence makes sense, so the verb is a linking verb. He feels the fine sand of the beach. He is the fine sand of the beach. The verb is not a linking verb. Using adverbs instead of adjectives with linking verbs. Adverbs modify action verbs, not linking verbs. Using adverbs instead of adjectives with linking verbs will result in incorrect sentences, as shown here. Some common linking verbs are appear, become, feel, grow, look, seem, smell, sound, taste. Examples. Andy appears calm. Note. Andy appears calmly. He became anxious about working for the first time. Note. He became anxiously about working for the first time. She feels sad. Note. She feels sadly. 4. Regular and irregular verbs. The main verbs are classified as regular verbs and irregular verbs. They can be identified by how their past tense and past participle are formed. Regular verbs. The past tense and past participle of regular verbs end in d or ed. Present tense: touch, kill, pass, rub, stop. Past tense: touched, killed, passed, rubbed, stopped. Past participle: touched, killed, passed, rubbed, stopped. Irregular verbs. The past tense and past participle of irregular verbs do not follow the above pattern of grammar. They do not end in d or ed, where only the past tense and past participle are the same. Present tense: carry, die, fit, jump, show, try. Past tense: carried, died, fitted, jumped, showed, tried. Past participle: carried, died, fitted, jumped, showed, tried. Where all three forms are the same. Present tense: caused, cut, hurt, put, read, shut. Past tense: caused, cut, hurt, put, read, shut. Past participle: caused, cut, hurt, put, read, shut. Where all three forms are different. Present tense: begin, choose, do, go, lie, see. Past tense: began, chose, did, went, lay, saw. Past participle: begun, chosen, done, gone, lain, seen. Where the past and participle forms can be regular and irregular. Present tense: burn, dream, learn, spell, spill. Past tense: burned or burned, dreamed or dreamt, learned or learned, spelled or spelt, spilled or spilt. Past participle: burned or burned, dreamed or dreamt, learned or learned, spelled or spelt, spilled or spilt. 5. Action verb and state verb. A verb can be an action verb or a state verb. Action verb. An action verb is used for an action that has happened, or is still taking place at the time of speaking, or is done habitually. He cycled to the shopping mall. He is cycling to the shopping mall. He cycles to work. An action verb conveys the same meaning when used in different tenses. John read the newspaper. John was reading the newspaper. The Queen will meet the President. The Queen will be meeting the President. Some action verbs cannot be used in the continuous tense. My father owns that building. Note: my father is owning that building. That book belongs to me. Note: that book is belonging to me. State verb. A state verb, also known as non-action verb, refers to the condition of someone or the state they are in. The two neighbors hate the sight of each other. The two neighbors are hating the sight of each other. She believes everything that is told to her. She is believing everything that is told to her. Some state verbs when used in the continuous tense refer to feelings that last briefly. We are liking what we are doing. I am regretting now what I did just now. We are wishing the rain stops suddenly. As usual, he is being provocative. Action and state verbs. Some verbs can be both state verb and action verbs. These verbs are used in the continuous tense when they describe an action. Examples: I see you are very happy with your new glasses. State: the doctor is not seeing any more patients. Action: I have 2 dogs, 1 cat and a goldfish. State: what are we having for dinner tonight? Action. 6. Finite verb and non-finite verb. There are 2 kinds of verbs: finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Finite verb. The finite verb changes with the person and number of the subject. It has the present or past form. This means finite verb has tenses. Every sentence must have a finite verb. The following table shows an example of finite verbs. Person. Present tense. Singular. Plural. First person. I eat. We eat. Second person. You eat. You eat. Third person. He eats. They eat. She eats. They eat. It eats. They eat. The verb, eat, in the above table is a finite verb because it changes with the person and number of the subject. When it is used with the third and singular person, the verb changes to eats. Non-finite verb. The non-finite verb does not change to reflect singular or plural or tenses. It comes in different form as the following table shows. Finite verb. Non-finite verb. S form. Eats, laughs, runs. ing form. Eating, running, using. Present tense. Eat, laugh, run. Infinitive. To, eat, to, run, to, use. Past tense. Ate, laughed, ran. Past participle. Eaten, run, used. As is seen from the table 2, the non-finite verb does not have tenses. It has the ending in ing form, infinitive form and past participle form. Further examples. Ending in ing form. I saw her feeding rabbits. Infinitive form. To talk with your mouth full is not a nice thing to do. Past participle form. The prehistoric artifact stolen from the museum was never recovered.